County Board meeting on November 18th to order. Our invocation is by Mr. Roger Hess.
Heavenly Father, you guide and govern everything with love and order. I ask that you look upon this assembly gathered here today of elected officials, department heads, employees, and concerned citizens, and fill us each with the spirit of your wisdom. May we always act in accordance with your will, and I ask that you grant each of us the knowledge, the wisdom, the strength to make the decisions that will best serve our constituents and all residents of our county. Father, I also ask that you watch over and protect all of our first responders, our healthcare workers, and the people serving in the military at home and abroad. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning. Can I get a roll call, Mr. Henderson?
Absolutely. Mr. Hess.
Present.
Mr. Tholen. Mrs. Polk.
Present.
Mr. Snipes.
Present.
Mr. Byrne.
Present.
Mr. Lear.
Present.
Mrs. Weber.
Present.
Mrs. Peters.
Present.
Mr. Payton.
Present.
Mrs. Parker.
Present.
Ms. Dunbar.
Present.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Present.
Mr. Fairfield.
Present.
Ms. Haas. Mr. Carrico.
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Swanson.
Present.
Ms. Aculo.
Present.
Mr. Featherling.
Present.
Mr. Donnell.
Present.
Mr. Miller.
Present.
Mr. Long.
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Kirkstra. Mr. Hunter.
Here.
Mr. Seroy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I have one public comment by Kenneth Wright. Kenneth, you can use that mic right back there. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much, members of the county board. I just have a couple of things of concern that kind of brought to my attention. The first, I question the legality of this meeting under the circumstances. My understanding of the special meeting statute 55 ILCS 5/2/1002 is that in order to have a special meeting, it has to be either called by 1/3 of the members, 1/3 of the members of the board. This is a 28 member board. That means that there has to be more than 9 people. My understanding, there's only 9 people called in the meeting. I don't believe that's legal. In certain jurisdictions, there are county board chairs that are elected by the people and not elected by the fellow board members. We're not one of those counties. We're one of the counties where our county board chair is elected by the county board members. And because of that, the members themselves, and I believe legally it has to be at least 10 members in order to call the meeting. So I would object to this as, I guess, the legality of this being a special meeting. The second thing is one of the other disadvantages I guess you have as a county board when there is when your county board chair is elected by the actual board members is that the declaration of a vacancy. The statute 10 ILCS 5/25-11 says that the vacancy itself has to be, the declaration of a vacancy has to be made by the board, not the board chair. And when my reviewing of the meetings, the prior 2 meetings regarding these vacancies, both in 15 and I believe it was 25 or 26, there was just a board. There was never a vote by the, there was just a chairman. There was never a vote by the board itself declaring the vacancies. So I don't understand how we can legally fill vacancies when they have not been legally, properly declared vacant. My understanding from reading the statute is that the board has exclusive ability to fill vacancies, but there has to be 2 conditions met. First, the vacancy has to be declared within 3 days of the vacancy. It has to be 3 days. So one of the vacancies was declared was vacant back in September. The declaration of the vacancy hadn't happened until sometime in November. So I don't understand how now we're almost 60 days later, 60 plus days later, trying to fill a vacancy that has been vacant for more than 60 days. The second part, once again, is that it has to be filled within 60 days. Both of those conditions have to be met. It's my argument. Both conditions have to be met in order for this board to fill those vacancies. And my understanding of both these vacancies, neither one of them, there has not been a proper vote by this board. According to when I reviewed the videos of the last proper meetings, this board has not properly declared either one of those vacancies. And third, and most shocking to me is the qualifications of the appointees. You have to, in order to be appointed as to a board position, you have to be a resident of that district. I understand here we have a candidate who's up for appointment who just recently abandoned his district. As of 12 days ago, on November 6th, up until November 6th, was still acting in his official capacity as the board, as the chairman of the board, and as a board, the district representative for 15 up until 12 days ago. Now, in order to establish residency, there's two conditions. You have to abandon your previous position, which we don't have any proof that that's happened. But more importantly, you have to establish legal residency somewhere else. And legal residency is established the same as for like a voter. You don't necessarily have to register to vote, but you have to be there for at least 30 days prior. And in this situation, I know we have a candidate that's up for an appointment that some 13 days ago was a legal resident of someplace else. Now we're trying to appoint this person as a board member. This, in my opinion, this runs afoul of the law. This stinks. You can have any person at any time packing up their bags and moving to a district the next day just to get appointed to a position. You have to be, just like for a voter, you have to be have resided in a state and the elected district 30 days preceding any election. You have to be living in a place 30 days prior to being qualified as a voter in that district. And if you're not a voter in that district, you definitely can't be appointed to that position. So for all these reasons, I'm concerned that we are proceeding and appointing people when there has not been a legal declaration of vacancy, and people that have, and in the case of the vacancy of 15, someone who is not a legal resident of 26 where this legal appointment is going to happen. So I can't imagine, as a lawyer, I can't imagine how this would be resolved without court intervention. There's plenty of case law that shows that whenever you have illegal appointees, whatever business is done after that, it's all void. And I can't imagine that this board would take a step, knowing this board would take a step to appoint someone, knowing that their actions will be void, especially when we have a vacancy and 15 that's going to be for like 10 days. It seems like a race of resources. So I definitely urge our county board and each of the individual members to please consider these. Like I said, there's a special meeting statute, there's declaration of vacancy statute, there's a legal residency statute, and I believe all these should be reviewed before we take this vote. Thank you.
Thank you. At old business,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
may I make public comment?
Yes, I will recognize you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to provide this information to the commissioners, department heads, and any county employees. The Eastside Junior Football League, one of their particular teams, will be representing Kankakee County at the national playoffs in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, next week from Wednesday until Sunday. So I'm soliciting your support. Any kind of donations would be appreciated. Some of you have made financial contributions already. This particular organization is a 501c3, so it meets the criteria for a donation, which would be considered for a write-off, tax deduction. So they're representing Kankakee County, and that's at a national playoffs as I indicated, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee next week. And checks can be made out to Eastside Junior Football League. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. And I was following, they did really well in Indianapolis. Yes.
Last Sunday, Mr. Chairman, they were victorious, and now they qualify to go to Gatlinburg. Yeah, you're correct.
That's awesome, sir. Okay, moving on to old business. It's, Mr. Snipes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we move forward, could we state into the, for the record, the names of the individuals who called the meeting?
I have those emails down in my office. I did not print them and bring them up, but we did have the requisite number of board members indicating that they wish to call for the special meeting. If you'd like to recess for a few minutes, I can go get those.
If we could, so that way we will have a record as to who, in fact, called the meeting and their names.
Is there a motion for recess?
Chair can do that. Just take the rest of it.
Well, I think we're calling into Mr. Henderson's integrity by not.
Make that motion.
No, we just talked. They just
Okay,
wanna put it on
Mr. Hunter and Mr. Snipes, you'll second that? Okay. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hess,
No.
Mrs. Polk,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters,
Aye.
Mr. Payton, Mrs. Parker, Mrs. Parker,
No.
Ms. Dunbar,
Nay.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Nay.
Mr. Fairfield,
Nay.
Mr. Carrico,
Nay.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Nay.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo,
Nay.
Mr. Featherling,
Nay.
Mr. Donnell,
Nay.
Mr. Miller,
Nay.
Mr. Long,
Nay.
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Seroy.
Nay.
Motion fails, 10 ayes, 13 nays.
Mr. Snipes, you can go down to Mr. Henderson's office after the meeting and pull those names if you'd like.
Okay, I wasn't doing that. I wanted it on the record, so since it was already stated that there was some discrepancy, that way it would have reflected in our meeting that there was 9 calls.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Hunter.
Could we ask by show of hands who submitted emails to the county clerk? You know, I for one was one of those who requested. I did. Anybody else?
I know there's many on the Zoom meeting that did.
I did, but I don't think you got it.
How many are, can you count?
10? Schedule. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So it's been advised to me that we should, because the succession portion of the county code was not clear, if something were to happen to me via COVID these times of days, and I would not be able to be in the office to fulfill the duties, that we elect a county board vice chairman to fill the unexpired term of vice chairman, okay? So do I have any nominations for vice chair? Mr. Featherling?
I nominate Mr. Lear.
Mr. Lear?
I would second that. Chad Miller.
Mr. Miller seconds. Do I have any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I would move the nominations be closed.
Do I have any other nominations? Do I have any other nominations? Mr. Hess?
I will move that the nominations be closed.
Thank you. Okay, so
Point of order, is there a second?
there was a second by Mr. Miller on Zoom. Yeah.
We don't have a second on the closing of the...
Oh, we need a second on the closing of the nominations. Thank you.
Second, Dunbar.
Mrs. Dunbar seconds the closing? Okay. So now we need a roll call vote.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mrs. Polk,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
This is for,
Vice Chair.
aye,
pardon?
aye.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Lear, Mrs. Weber,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters,
Aye.
Mr. Payton, Mrs. Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield,
Aye.
Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling, Mr. Donnell,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Seroy.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is appointment of
Point of
Everett
order.
Eves to fill the
Point of
unexpired
order.
term of District Number 15. Yes, sir.
That vote should have been taken to close the nominations.
And then we got, you're right. Yes, you're right.
Now you have to vote on.
Now we got to
Mr.
vote on the
Lear.
nomination. That was vote to close the nominations. Yes. Getting ahead of myself here.
Okay.
Okay, now to confirm, Mr. Lear.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mrs. Polk,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes, Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters,
Aye.
Mr. Payton, Mrs. Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield,
Aye.
Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Donnell,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Seroy.
Aye. All right, my right-hand man, Mr. Lear, thank you. Okay, moving on. Appointment of Everett Eads to fill the unexpired term of District 15 on the Kankakee County Board that's controlled by the Republican Party right now. He was nominated by the Republican Party. So do I have a motion? Mr. Lear? Lear. Seconded by
Ms. Parker?
Ms. Parker? Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Any discussion?
Any discussion? Mr. Snipes, of course.
The reason that I cannot participate in either of the two, the agenda item before us is improper, it's illegal, and it's not in accordance with 10 ILCS 52511. When a vacancy occurs in an elective county office in a county which is not a home rule unit, the county board shall declare, shall, not may, shall declare that such vacancy exists, and remember, it's the county board that declares it. And notification there shall be given to the county central committee or the appropriate county board or the Board of County Commissioner District Committee or each established political party within 3 days of the occurrence of the vacancy. The vacancy shall be filled within 60 days by appointment of the chair of the county board or the county commissioners once that is declared. In this case, it has not been properly declared. When we concluded the meeting, the county board meeting, I specifically gave Jim Rowe the law, and he must have shared it with you all as far as the procedures was concerned. In that meeting, twice, Mr. Cyril said, I declare. The only way that he can declare it is if he's elected by the voters. He's not. He's elected by the county board. So therefore, the county board would have had to declare it. The county board, nowhere on record, has declared it a vacancy. How does the county board speak? Through the vote. How is it? Through resolution or the ordinance. In neither case, no vote was taken by this county board, because I've been at every meeting of this county board, and not one meeting, not one agenda item was held where we basically declared anything. So with that being said, we are in violation of the actual code that empowers us to basically act. So until we as a board declare the vacancy, there is no vacancy that exists. And in fact, we should have, in one case, we should have done it by September 20th. We had 3 days and we were gonna call a special meeting. It should have been within that 3 days so that we could have declared and that we could have moved forward. We have not done so in this case. So the objection that I have based upon the statutory requirements will ask the question, has the county board lost its statutory authority to act by its own negligence to act within the statutory guidelines that empowers them to act? This board failed to properly and legally act within the 3 days of the occurrence of the vacancy, which is without argument. It's in one case, it's September 20th, the other one would have been November the 6th. The statute does not give us the authority to allow the chairman to declare the vacancy 51 days later. And even if it does not allow the chairman to declare the vacancy as was done on November 10th, 2020, but rather the county board must declare the vacancy within 3 days of the occurrence of the vacancy, which to date has not happened. There has not been any collective vote taken by this county board, nor any resolution by this board before us today that will allow us to confirm a legal vote from the 26th or from 15. This presents a question of law for the courts to decide. Do we have the statutory power to do such?
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
You can't call the question when it's up on debate, when there's only been a motion and a second. And also, I still had the floor. So until I yield the floor, then you should I have the duty to speak, and whatever I say, once I yield it, then you have the opportunity to speak. So at this point, I think what we're doing is illegal, and we are governed by our oath to follow the statutes of the state of Illinois and the laws and the Constitution of the state of Illinois and the United States. If we knowingly violate that, then there are consequences that basically can follow, because the board is acting improperly because it failed to follow the law. We cannot keep doing what we're doing. That's why we're in court with Jake Lee, because there's a legal way of doing things and a county board's way. You gotta follow the law. And if the county board pursues this and continues to pursue it, then I'm going to direct and send a letter to Jim Rowe to basically challenge this in court. So we will have to go through the same process again. And then if what you did knowingly was in violation of the law, there's other things that will come as a consequence of doing something knowingly violating the law. This is why we brought it to your attention. Unless this county board can say that they actually declared a vacancy and show me where the vote was taken, these two, we can go no further on we can go no further as far as the motion or anything regarding these two. We can continue our other business, but we cannot, because we did not follow the law in this instance.
Is Jim Rowe there?
Mrs. Nicholson, do you have anything to reply to this as you've researched the law?
So the issue of 10 ILCS 5/25-11, the language that's been spoken is correct. It does say shall declare that such vacancy exists. It says declare. It doesn't say that by a majority of. There's no language that indicates there necessarily has to be a vote. And so at this point, there's no clear language in the statute that indicates a vote must be taken. It's a declare. That means the board announces or says there's a vacancy. That's what the definition of declare is.
Thank you. And I don't remember voting on, God rest his soul, Mr. Washington's passing, and so the question has been called. So roll call vote, please.
What are we voting on? A clarification.
Everett Eads to fill the 15th district, the unexpired term, Mrs. Polk.
So
Ms. Peters? Mrs. Peters, go right ahead.
I'm concerned that we called the question after one speaker, and in the middle of that speaker speaking, I think that it seems that there's no transparency going on here. There wasn't an open dialogue. No one else had a chance to speak. I do agree with Mr. Snipes that there's a lot of questions around this, and possibly this should be tabled and not voted on until we have a little bit more clarification.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I call the question again.
Question has been called.
Point of order. Point of order. You cannot call the question until every county board member has had the opportunity to speak. And number two, when you do call it, it takes a 2/3 vote of the county board to basically close debate.
We'll vote for the closing of the debate then.
What you have to allow, the other people are speaking, you have to allow them to speak.
Does anybody else have a comment?
Mr. Chairman, this is Mr. Carrico.
Mr. Carrico, go ahead.
Well, what I want to say is there's a lot of discussion about this situation here. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not sure if we have any other county board member that is a lawyer. However, I do rely, my vote will be based on the what we get as information from legal representatives of this county, which in that case will be Mr. Rowe and his office. So I heard a little bit ago that there's no specific thing on the language saying that we'll have to have a vote. I remember that vacancy was declared. However, I would like to have as a affirmation again, if by the legal representative of this board, if this procedure is being done legally.
Mrs. Nicholson, would you like to comment on Mr. Carrico's question? I'll let the lawyer talk, Mr. Carrico.
I guess I want to know, what is it specifically? Are you questioning how the vacancy was actually declared? Is that what the question is?
Now, if the vote for filling of the vacancy is being done correctly.
Calling it, or is that what you mean?
Yes, voting for this thing.
So if I could just intervene on this. So when someone calls the question, that doesn't necessarily stop debate. When you call the question, so when you're recognized by the chair, you call the question, there's a second on that. There is no debate on calling the question. So if there's a motion to call the question, a second to call the question, then you have a vote on whether you're calling the question. There's not further debate on that.
Mr. Lear?
I would second that motion to call the question.
Thank you.
Point of order.
And then you need 2/3 of those voters to vote to call the question.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I caught anyone off. I can't hear people that are in the council.
Okay, so 2/3 vote to call the question. Thank you.
Point of order. The county and the county code has established that we have to follow the Robert Rules of Order. If in fact you can call the question before every county board member has had the opportunity to address and you allow one, you have basically disregarded not only the rules of the county, but of the state and Robert Rules of Order as well. You can call the question after it has been at least arguably debated. So, and you can't do it. If that's the case, we can just simply have a meeting, no county board member, one person can speak, and then somebody calls the question, and then no other county board member can speak from any of the elected district. And I will tell you that not only is that wrong, but we need to challenge that immediately. What statute do you have before this county board or any statute that allows you to say to the other 27 board members, they can't say anything because someone called the question, that you don't have it. You first have to have a healthy debate. Then after that, you can call it after it has been debated. And so therefore, if it's tiresome, at that point, yes. But you cannot disenfranchise every elected district who is represented by the people. There's no way that could be fundamentally fair. And if that's the message we send in the community, then they have a right to come up here and basically not only fuss us out, but to basically call what you just did illegal. They do have a voice, and their voice is through their county representative, Mr. Chair. So with all due respect, and I'm on a point of order, this has to be debated before you can call a question. And then the individual that gave us,
I think that's why Mr. Rowe just said it had to be a 2/3 vote to call the question. So I think if the 2/3 vote doesn't happen, then it goes back to debate, Mr. Snipes.
No.
Yes, it does.
We can call the question.
Then it doesn't.
They have to debate. If you
So-
decide to do it after one.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Phil.
I'd like to ask that this doesn't become a shouting match, please.
I know.
Can we talk at a
There's
regular
only one
tone?
guy in here
I'm
screaming.
feeling threatened, and I don't like being
There's
threatened.
only one guy in here screaming.
I can
I'm
call
sorry,
the sheriff
Mr.
and have a
Federle.
sheriff come in here because my
Yeah.
life is being threatened.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel as though I'm in trouble.
Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a comment before we vote to call the question?
So, Mr. Chairman, you would need a first to call, I'm just simply not aware of anything.
I have a first and a second to call the question, Mr. Rowe.
Okay.
And then, like, to back up what Jim said, the motion to call the question is not debated. You just have to call it to a vote.
Okay.
If 2/3 of the voting members decide in favor to call the question, then like Mr. Rose said, that's, you know, if you don't get 2/3,
Then we
you
go back to
continue
debate.
the debate.
Right. Thank
Correct.
you.
And you just need to make sure that the person who asked to call the question and the person that seconded have been recognized by the chair.
Yes. Mr. Kinzinger and Mr. Lear second.
That's correct.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
What have you voted?
Aye.
Mrs. Polk,
To call the question, Patricia.
You know, I'm totally confused.
Yeah, you know what, I am too. I don't know what we're voting on.
Okay, we are voting to call the question for Mr. Eves' appointment to District 15. And it needs a 2/3 vote, otherwise it goes back to debate.
Okay.
Mr. Payton.
To try to resolve the issue, couldn't we just simply ask, is there anyone to have anything they want to say?
I think the problem is we've called the question, Mr. Payton.
Call the question. We're doing the vote.
There's no more debate, guys.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we make a motion to adjourn, there's no debate. I'm just sitting here quiet, having done this stuff for years, more than 4 decades. And
Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
trampling all over Robert's rules.
Roll call, please.
The people on Zoom can't hear. They need to turn the microphones on.
We need mics.
Yes, Mike, thank you.
My mic wasn't on, so I had to talk loud.
okay. Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mrs. Polk,
Nay, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Mr. Snipes,
Nay.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters,
Nay.
Mr. Payton, Mrs. Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar,
Nay.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield,
Aye.
Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Nay.
That was a nay?
Correct.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Dunhill,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, now we will vote on the appointment of Everett Ease to County Board 15? Because I had a first and a second, didn't I, a long time ago?
Yeah.
Mr. Lear and Ms. Parker was the first and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mrs. Polk,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Nay.
Mr. Byrne,
Nay.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters,
Nay.
Mr. Payton, Mrs. Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar,
Nay.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield,
Aye.
Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Dunhill,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Seroy.
Aye. Thank you.
Now, point of order, because there was something that was left in the air. So,
9-4 in favor.
Thank you. Appointment of Andrew Wheeler to an unexpired term for District 26 on the Kankakee County Board. Mr. Featherling?
I'd like to make that motion to fill the expired term for District 26, the Kankakee County Board for Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Anybody on Zoom?
Ron.
Polk.
Mrs. Polk. Thank you, Mrs. Polk. Now discussion. Anybody on Zoom first?
I have a point of order that has not been addressed, so needs a point of order so I can get clarification from Nancy from a statement she made.
Point of order.
The point of order is I believe the attorney stated that we would have to declare it. She said it didn't have to take a vote, but we have to declare it. The issue is, did the county board declare it or the chairman declared it? From the facts, which is the last meeting, and they can look at it now, it says the chair declared it, not the county board. So again, with that declaration, is the state's attorney stating that the board declared it, and if so, when?
Mrs. Nicholson, could you reaffirm what you've said about 7-8 minutes ago? About the declaration of vacancy?
So the declaration, if it was, I don't have the minutes in front of me, but if we're gonna say that it is the chair who declared it, the chairman declared it, the chairman, for purposes of making different things, statements, is the voice of the county board. Mm-hmm. There was discussion. I mean, I do remember last county board, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of things were talked about, and at the end, this is what the chairman stated. He declared that there was a vacancy, and he was expressing what the county board had had a discussion about. That's what I can say without looking at the minutes. It's
yes,
the county board chairman.
You're very accurate, Mrs. Nicholson. Thank you.
But since I was asked the question, so therefore, under the point of order, so therefore, my understanding that you said the chairman can...
Mr. Snipes, hold on. Let me make sure I have your microphone on before you start shouting at the television set.
Okay. The point of order that was brought up was the fact that you stated that the chairman could, however, the state statute says different. It says the county board must declare it. The chairman can declare it if he is elected by the voters. So it's my understanding from you that the chair now can declare it for the county board?
But I don't believe after the last wait.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's sirens.
Yeah,
going
hold on a second, please.
The chairman wasn't of his own fruition declaring the vacancy. There was discussion about whether or not the vacancy had occurred, and how they were going to put forth the notification to the different political parties. At the last board meeting, that was the discussion, and the chairman was stating that there was a vacancy. The statute doesn't require that's a vote, and if you read the statute, you can see the comparison, because it says the county board shall declare that such vacancy exists. If you go further in the statute, it says that the county board chairman, it says, shall appoint with the advice, so the appointment happens with the advice and consent. So they talk about it. So that, at this point, the county, there's not a required vote. There was discussion, and after that discussion, the chairman declared a vacancy on behalf of the county board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Kinzinger.
I call the question.
Wait, we're not there yet, sir. I would like anybody on Zoom, if you have a comment on this appointment.
Peters.
Mrs. Peters, right ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question about the residency requirement. Is there a 30-day residency requirement, and did he fulfill that? That was brought up.
That has been researched through our legal department, and everything is, how'd say, legal. He bought property over 30 days ago, I believe. Uh-oh. Are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Parker?
I am posing a question. Why is this any different than any other appointment that we have made in past years?
It is really not. We have precedent standing on this board. That's how all of our appointments have been made, you know,
Exactly.
whether somebody has deceased or been moved away. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's an issue for some in this room. So
Exactly, which I don't understand why there's been such discussion on this when we've done this historically.
yeah. Thank you.
Peters.
Mrs. Peters, go right ahead.
Hey, I wasn't finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said that he bought property. Well, I could buy property in an area. Would that make me a resident of
Well,
it?
he's
So
actually living there, Janice, so.
No, I understand
Yeah.
he's probably living there now, but has he been living there for the last 30 days?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Lear?
Mr. Chairman, I think the county clerk might be, able to state something about the residency requirement for a member of the county board.
According to the candidates guide for county board members, there is no 30-day residency for county board districts, just has to be that you're a member of that district. Mr. Wheeler updated his voter registration in our office on November 6th.
Thank you. Any other Zoomers that want to comment? Okay, seeing none. Anybody in the room here would like to make a comment? Mr. Snipes?
Yes, if his last day was the 6th, and he did a voter registration on the 6th?
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Point of order.
Mr. Wright just came up and talked to Mr. Snipes, and they wrote something on the paper. He cannot make a comment, and he cannot ask a question for Mr. Wright.
I'm not asking a question for Mr. Wright.
He just came up. If you want to look at the video, Bob.
Look at the video. I'm looking at my phone. What he's talking about is something totally different.
Okay.
This is,
yeah.
I'm looking right at my phone.
Mr. Snipes, let's keep this above board, okay?
Okay.
Come on.
So, don't yell, please. Again, I have a strong voice, so my thing is, you all are, so basically it says, and even the case that Jim read basically stated the qualifications of legal voter. We have to follow the state of Illinois. The Supreme Court said it, all the appellate court, and in fact, when the appellate court, one appellate court went against the grain, the Supreme Court sharply kind of gave a rebuke to the appellate court because they said this is in place for the last 100 years to 150 years. And so this is the process that they follow, and that we would resort back to the residency up under the election code. Now, even in the the county code that we just discussed, it still states, when you take the, even when you take the oath, because I believe he had to verify that he lived and said that he was there for 30 days preceding the election. Now, someone said that he bought the property 30 days before, but yet he served on the county board to November 6th. So he didn't abandon the District 15 until the 6th because he served here as a board. Now, if you stated that he bought the property and lived there 30 days ago.
No, I didn't say he lived there. I just said he bought property.
Well,
so multiple people owned multiple properties.
But the issue is, when was the vacancy that occurred in District 15? That was on November 6th. So he could not have registered 30 days and been there 30 days because November 6th is less than 13 days of the election code. Now, it's a qualification of voters' oath. No person shall vote at the election who does not possess the qualifications mentioned in the affidavit in this section. Any person offering to vote at any county seat election whose right to vote shall be challenged by any challengers, member of the board or election, or by any voter of the county, shall answer under oath such questions as may be propounded to him touching his qualifications as a voter. Now, according to them, I do solemnly swear that I am a citizen of the United States and of this state, and that I am the age of 18 years or over, that I have resided in this state for 30 days immediately preceding this election, that I am a bona fide resident of this county and have permanently resided herein for the last 30 days immediately preceding the election, and that I'm a legal voter of, and it'll tell you to insert the name of the precinct, and have permanently resided therein for the last 30 days immediately preceding the election. That's the oath that you take. So, and then even in the statute that we're still discussing, it says that the person had to reside in the county code, must be a resident of the county board or county commission district that he's about to represent. And that had to be 30 days. So if he left on the 6th, the first day would be the 7th. We don't have 30 days. So I defer it. Again, these are questions that need to be answered by the court. Or you can get inference or some type of legal guidance from Jim Rowe or Miss Nancy regarding the residency, because it was in the Supreme Court analysis that was part of a ruling.
Chairman?
Mr. Smith first on Zoom, please.
Well, I've been listening to Clarence Darrow here, and I'm just getting a little bit confused. I don't understand where a petition to run in a precinct has anything to do with us being able to validly appoint Mr. Wheeler to a precinct or to a district.
Yes, sir. Any other Zoomers? Anybody else in the room? Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In light of the comments that Commissioner Snipes has made, Ms. Nicholson or Mr. Rowe, any retort to the comments, or would they be redundant based on what you previously indicated?
I have to be honest, my Zoom cut out for some of Mr. Snipes' comments. I did not hear them all. I don't know if he cited specific statutes that he's using, but at this point, I defer to Mr. Hendrickson on what the requirements are, because my experience with Mr. Hendrickson is he's knowledgeable about requirements, and at this point, Mr. Wheeler has been a resident of this county for 30 days, and now he resides in this district.
Mr. Hendrickson?
I'm looking at the qualifications for county board now. 18 years of age, U.S. citizen, resident of the county for at least 1 year prior to the election, registered voter in the county or county board district.
Do you confirm that Mr. Wheeler fulfills those qualifications, Mr. Henderson?
I would not want to make a legal interpretation on that.
Okay.
Mr. Wheeler did update his registration with our office on November 6th.
Thank you. Mrs. Nicholson, did you research Mr. Wheeler's appointment, and did you find anything invalid on that?
I did not research Mr. Wheeler's specific appointment. Our office researched what has happened when a vacancy is declared, as in the 60-day requirement to fill it. Our office has researched what creates a vacancy and what happens after that vacancy occurs. The research we have done has been more over procedure, and now we've been researching it even more in depth as we come up with sort of a procedure and maybe a checklist that's Mr. Hunter suggested that we do going forward, so we don't have to, so there's more specific, so we don't have to kind of, hopefully, there's a lot of what was said, who was, like some uncertainty. So we're trying to close those up. That's what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
If what he said, if Mr. Wheeler has been a resident in the county for a year, my understanding, and Mr. Henderson can correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody appears the day of voting with proof of residency in a district, in a voting precinct, they can register that day to vote at that place.
That's correct.
So at this point, it appears, since Mr. Wheeler did change where he votes, his voting district now would be where he resides.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else on Zoom with a comment?
So there's no problems with 30 days. He's within the 30-day limit. That's what I need to know.
No.
Yeah. I would have to give her the statute because she said she did not have it before her, so it would be fundamentally unfair.
Do you want to recite the statute, Mrs. Nicholson? Get your pen out.
Up under 10 ILCS 5/25-11, and then we got the 25 to the 11, but reading all the way down at the bottom, you will see that these words are recorded. Furthermore, under the same statute, it reads in part, in case of a vacancy in a seat on a county board or board of county commissioners, which has been divided into districts under section 2-3003 or 2-4006.5 of the county's code, the appointee must also be a resident of the county board or county commission district. Now, the term residency, again, is a legal question that has been resolved in the courts to mean that you have to have an abode. He last voted in the election under District 15. He has now abandoned that and has moved to a new district, which means he would have to have resided there for the 30 days because he has to follow the election code. And if you would like the election code, I can give you that as well. 55 ILCS 5/1-5013, which is section 15013. And it tells you the qualification of voters.
Anyone else in the room have a comment? Anyone on Zoom?
So I guess I'm really confused, but I'm always confused. So you're saying that he was not there, he was not a registered voter, he has not been a registered voter for 30 days in that petition, in District 26.
That's what Mr. Snipes is saying, Mrs. Pope.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Kinzinger?
can I call the question now?
Yes, you can call the question if we have a second.
I will second it, Mr. Fairfield.
Mr. Fairfield will second it. Roll call to call the question.
We're not waiting on Nancy.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Could you please explain to me again what I'm voting for?
This is a roll call to call the question.
Okay, aye.
Stop debate.
Mr. Snipes,
No.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters,
Aye.
Mr. Payton, Mrs. Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield,
Aye.
Mr. Carrico,
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo,
Aye.
Mr. Featherling,
Aye.
Mr. Donnell,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. Long,
Aye.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Eads,
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now roll call for the appointment of Andrew Wheeler to District 26.
Do we have any, okay.
There's no
30 days is
discussion
up.
anymore, Patricia.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Mr. Hess.
Mr. Chairman, first, on point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Hess.
I'm sorry to bring this up, but Mr. Reed should not be able to vote. He's not been sworn in yet to the county board.
Right.
Yeah, we were gonna try to, yeah, correct. Correct. Let the record reflect that Mr. Eads' vote does not count. Does that make a difference in the 2/3?
Nope. No.
Okay. Mr. Eads, you gotta wait till you get sworn in before you can vote, sir.
My apologies.
All right.
We'll do that after the
Once you
meeting,
go-
I hope. Thank you, Bones.
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
I'm not participating in this process or this,
Yes or no?
Mr. Byrne.
Nay.
Mr. Lear. Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Payton. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar.
Nay.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Nay.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, moving on.
19 ayes, 4 nays. Motion carries.
19 ayes, 4 nays. Thank you. Moving on to new business. Now I'm going to give you a little background on this. In this building, the elevators were hit with some weather damage that has caused our insurance to kick in. But there are different, we've received some numbers, but it's requested because, all right, it gets confusing here. The insurance will pay for the portion of the elevator repair. We have to bid out the elevator repair for the insurance company, but there's only maybe 4 or 5 elevator companies that do elevator repair. Our current company that we have that does our maintenance contract has given us an idea what they would like to do. Another company has given us an idea of what they would like to do and we've been advised by legal in order to make this appropriate, but it's only really going to cost the county $10,000, our deductible for our insurance policy. But in order for it to make it real legal, or to be very transparent, we're going to bid out the elevator repair for our insurance company to pay for. It's only going to cost our insurance company $10,000 because this has all been deemed a weather-related issue that's damaged the board on the top of the elevator shaft. So I'll have a motion and a second, and then we can get into discussion if we'd like. Mr. Hess
Peters,
and Mrs. Peters seconds. Thank you. Now discussion on the elevator issue to put out for bid. Any discussion? Mr. Hunter?
Yeah, just got a question. Yeah, it's there. I'm not gonna stick my nose on there.
Don't shout at it like.
Oh, no. Got a question. With respect to professional services, you're saying in all instances we have to bid it?
We've been advised to let it, and so it's probably going to come back the same as what it was previous, because we already had 2 people look at it after the insurance company got involved, and they outsourced to the elevator companies. They came and looked at it, but now we're going to let it, or seek bids to let it, and let the insurance company handle it from there. So does that answer your question, sir? Thank you. Anybody on Zoom? Okay, let's just do a roll call vote, because we got everybody on Zoom anyway. So,
Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes. Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Lear. Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
aye.
Mr. Payton. Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling. Mr. Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
aye. Thank you. And hopefully we'll get something back soon to get those elevators.
Motion passed.
Motion passed. On to the next point of business is approval of Angela Moray to fill the position of Director of Marketing and Business Attraction at the Economic Alliance. We are in a partnership with the Alliance, and we only pay the benefits portion of the Alliance, and she took Lisa Wogan. She took Lisa Wogan's place at the Alliance. So I need a motion to approve. Mr. Lear and Mr. Payton with a second. Any discussion? Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Aye.
Mr. Fairfield.
Aye.
Mr. Carrico.
Aye.
Mr. Eckhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Ms. Zakulo.
Aye.
Mr. Featherling.
Aye.
Mr. Donnell.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mr. Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Motion passed. Mr. Hess?
Would
Peters, a second.
the clerk like to swear in the new board members?
I was advised to do it in person
Yeah,
Okay.
we can, yeah.
because I need to sign their oaths.
I have something on new business.
Mr. Snipes?
Okay,
Peters.
Ms. Pete.
Ms. Peters, you have a comment?
Just a second.
You thought Mr. Hess was gonna make a motion to adjourn, I bet you. He did not. He did not. Mr. Snipes has the floor.
Okay, there are 3 quick issues that I want to deal with, and the first one is when I have a county board that says I feel threatened and fear for my life. Now, I've been in this community, about 50 years or better, and and I've been on this board. I came on the board in 1990, and I currently serve, been on and off, then currently serve now to date. And when you say I feel threatened, fear for my life, either you're making a slanderous or defamation of character when you say it to me and then say, call the police. You have the right to feel the way you want to feel, but what you don't have the right to do is to invoke me into your feelings. My vocals are my vocals. And at no point in time did I sit here, call your name, threaten to do anything to you. So when you decide to take that liberty,
Mr. Snipes,
it's a point of clarification, because when you state that I will call the police, I fear for my life, I have the right again to address that on, because he made it as a public statement on this board.
I never said that.
Yes, sir. You say I fear for my life, I fear the thing, and then it says.
I think this would be a better discussion man to man.
Well, no, it's going to be, because if you want a man to man, he could have had that conversation with me and not on the viewer. My next issue is, let's see, this is, we rely upon the state's attorney's office to give us information. Ms. Nancy specifically stated that I have not researched this, and the board went on without the research and said that we're going to just do it. So for that reason, I'm going to direct Jim Rowe, I'll send a letter to him, and then have something filed into the courts to determine whether or not residency actually applies. Because again, what we're doing, we did in just a matter of seconds, and I do believe when the, even though the county clerk did state, he said other district in his comment, we didn't listen again, but he said he does not want to give a legal interpretation. This is right, because the courts now have to get involved, because we could have made a grave error. We cannot put people in place that are not legal voters of that place until they meet the qualifications. And since the assistant state's attorney stated that they did not research it, we did not wait for the research. And then the last thing I want to say is to the board. When you do a motion to end debate, which requires a 2/3 vote, and no other board member has spoken, you set a dangerous precedent. One, because our own county rule says, along with the Robert Rules of Order, that everyone is allowed to debate. That could be now a constitutional issue, because you have now disenfranchised 27 other board members from opening up because you took a motion. Now, you could simply say it if we told it, you could say, well, when we took the 2/3 vote, if it passed, but still, if we took the 2/3 vote, no one had the opportunity to speak, or only one person, you still disenfranchise every other board member. And we have to watch what we do when we do what we do. Because if you set that dangerous precedent, then when there's a question that before this particular board, and someone starts the moment that they said, I'll call for the question, and then we get a second and they end it, some things could go under the radar, almost of what we did today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to reaffirm what Mr. Rose said last full board meeting, that if you have a legal question and you have legal documentation, please bring it to the legal team before this meeting so that they are prepared to answer those questions. Because anything other than that would seem, in light of anything other than stalling or trying to throw a wrench into what our agenda is. Now, you could have brought those questions earlier. Okay, so you could have brought those questions earlier. So it's not fair for the legal team to have to answer your questions on this floor, where you could have proposed those questions to them yesterday and they could have been ready for a response. That's just not fair on their part. So, Mr. Hess, Mrs. Peters?
Yes, thank you. I see what you're trying to say there, but sometimes as the discussion progresses, different questions come up and then you do have to ask. I did reach out to Jim Rowe with some questions yesterday and he promptly answered them.
Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Rowe, for that. But sometimes other questions come up that you didn't think of, or
in this case, I think all the questions were there, Mrs. Peters.
so I'm just saying you made a general comment and I'm just responding to that. Thank you.
Thank you, though. Mr. Hess?
Are we gonna swear him in first? Or?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They're here. Let's swear them in. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Well, I feel that at times that Mr. Snipes has bullied this board by some of his comments. I would like to say that. And the other is that there are other board members that are on this board that were appointed here that have been appointed the same way we've just appointed Mr. Wheeler and Mr. Eads. So that has to be taken into consideration also when Mr. Snipes sends that information over to Mr. Rowe to be investigated. It will also affect other board members that have been appointed prior to this one.
Thank you, Mr. Fairfield. All right, we're gonna commence.
One last thing, Mr. Chairman, Peters again.
Yes, Mrs. Peters.
I think that all county board members deserve respect, and sometimes I feel like maybe when someone's mic gets turned off or not turned on, that they don't get the respect that they deserve also. So I would just reach out to my fellow board members, and we need to respect each member of the county board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hunter.
In light of what has transpired consistently at these county board meetings regarding procedures, Robert's Rules of Order, it may be appropriate at some point for an in-service to be provided by the state's attorney's office regarding the intricacies of Robert's Rules of Order, because you know, I understand it, Robert's Rules of Order. However, there seems to be some confusion at times regarding what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and Robert is probably turning over in his grave regarding his rules. So that's something for maybe the chairman, the future chairman, or whomever, we may want to interface with the state attorney's office and conduct some kind of in-service training for the board members.
Yeah, we can definitely provide that. We've done it in the past for FOIA. We've done it for Open Meetings Act. It'll look a little differently, but we can probably put one together via Zoom.
Thank you.
Right, and to further support what Mr. Rowe just said, we've actually been in discussion with Ms. Speckman, the county administrator, to try to start putting together like an orientation packet, or to do an orientation with incoming board members, like Mr. Rowe said, to go over FOIA, to go over OMA, and now, yes, we will add Robert's Rules, or at least a primer. I don't even fully understand Robert's Rules. It's a complex thing, but we can maybe at least go over some of the basics of the procedure.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hendrickson.
Come on up. You want it together? Or? Okay. Okay. Raise your right hand. I state your name. Having been appointed to the office of county board member, District 15 for you, Mr. Eads, District 26 for you, Mr. Wheeler, and for the county of Kankakee and state of Illinois, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of county board member to the best of my ability. Congratulations, gentlemen. If I can get you to sign this real quick.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Hold on, Mr. Hess. Let me turn your mic on.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Peters, second.
Mrs. Peters, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Stay tuned.